Welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. And if you are seeing this reading when I publish it, and I will be publishing it literally a couple of hours into January the 1st in Australia. So depending upon when you see it, you may be seeing it on New Year's Day, or you may even be seeing it in the Northern Hemisphere in the dying hours of 2021. Or you may be seeing it many years from now, because this is a timeless reading. But if you are seeing it when it is launched, it is being launched specifically to align with New Year's Day for 2022. And I wanted to do a reading on that date, even though it's outside of my 1 every 3 days schedule, because I wanted to bring in the new year. To me, I have a real sense of optimism about 2022. There's something in the air, something in the atmosphere that feels like a lot of the difficult times of 2021 and 2020 may be starting to be seen in the rear view mirror. And for me, I'm dubbing it the year of the phoenix, that we're a rising phoenix-like from the ashes to recreate and rebuild our lives and to take our dreams forward. And one of the things I specifically wanted to do for this reading, if I had the deck arrive in time, was use this particular deck, which I'm using for the choice of reading. This is a new indie deck that I have just purchased and luckily arrived just before the end of the year, so I could do this reading for New Year's. It's called the Rebirth Tarot, and it's by Macy from Alpha Loft. The details for how to get this deck, if you're interested in it, like all the decks, will be in the description box below. But to me, it seemed like such a perfect sign that if I got the Rebirth Tarot before the end of 2021, it felt like a sign from the universe that I was right, that my instinct is right about this year, and that we can look to what not only is new that we want to do, but also what we might want to rebirth, recreate, rekindle, rebuild, resurrect, any of those sorts of terms. So this reading is going to be about that. I've done a number of readings about January and the year coming and so forth. So I think I've covered all the stuff that would pick up the new, but I think many of us have found in the last couple of years that we've had to put some dreams aside or put things on hold. Life has been a little bit restrictive in many ways. And so I think this energy about being able to look at what have we put aside, and it might not even be in the last couple of years. It might be that it's a childhood dream, or it might have been your childhood sweetheart, and they've come back into your life in a way, and you're thinking, can I resurrect that? It could be anything, so it doesn't have to be just what has been a little bit more difficult in the last couple of years. But I do feel there's enough of that energy and enough optimism now to really look at a reading about that. So I am going to go into how the reading will be constructed and go through the deck choice in a minute. But what I also want to talk about is, as you would have seen in the title for this, I'm also wanting to announce a giveaway of a personal reading. And why I want to do that now is a number of reasons. One is that hopefully by the end of this month, if not absolutely early in February, but I'm pretty confident I'll have everything up and running before the end of January, I want to actually do personal readings for the first time and do it through an Etsy shop. So once that is in place, I will make announcements about that and put links in the description box and all of that sort of stuff going forward. Many of you have actually written to me about that, so those who have, I'll also let you know via email and so forth, and I thank you for your interest in it. One of the things I wanted to do with this channel was only go to do things like professional personal readings if people did resonate to the way that I read and did feel that there was a kind of spiritual or psychic connection. Then I feel sure that if you decide off the back of these sort of readings that you have enough of a connection to want to explore a personal reading, that you're going to get value for money and that there's a connection and all of those sort of things. And ethically, for me, that felt like a good way to let you almost try before you buy. But I do want you to know, nobody is ever under any pressure ever to get a personal reading from me. You are always welcome at this channel. It is a free channel. It's not about money. But for those who are interested, that will be available. And you will know what you're getting. I mean, I will probably concentrate more on tarot and less on oracle, unless you particularly want specific oracles to be used in personal readings. But the style and the approach and the energy and the connection and resonance that you will have felt would be the same, but just on an individual basis. So to celebrate moving into that phase of this, I wanted to give away a free reading. So this won't be done through the Etsy shop at all. This will be done directly between you and I, if you are the person who's the winner. And I'm just going to have in the timestamps now how to go about entering if you want to, and the sort of terms around it and how to do it. And then we'll have in the timestamps the deck choice and so forth to move forward. So I do want to shout out and give thanks to a wonderful tarot pick a card and other general tarot channel, which is Kino Tarot, because she did a personal reading giveaway recently, and the way that she structured it I thought was very clever. It was simple, it was direct, it was easy, but it also made it secure that the winner would actually get it, that there wasn't sort of any way that somebody could game the system and take someone's reading from them or whatever. So I shout out to her for that, and I'm going to use a very similar structure. So thank you to Kino. If you ever see this, you probably won't, but if you ever did, thank you very much. So how we're going to structure this is, for this reading, for the next 10 days from when you will see the date that this is posted, this particular chance to enter will be open. And at the end of that 10 days, I'm going to be randomly selecting from people who comment below in a particular way. And from there, I will tell you how I'm going to contact you then if you are the winner, and how we organise it. So what I would need you to do to enter is to comment below saying whatever reading or readings you listened to, what you got from it, what you liked from it, what questions it made you ask, whatever you want to share on that. Doesn't have to be a lot. And what kind of area in your life are you looking to rebirth or resurrect or rebuild something? Again, you don't have to go into a lot of detail. So more than welcome to do that if you want, but you don't have to. I'm not choosing the winner by who has the best response. It is going to be random. But if people do that, I will know that this is an entry. It doesn't preclude you then, if you wanted to go in more detail or ask me a question or whatever, to put in a separate comment about that. And because it doesn't have that structure, I'll know it's not an entry to the giveaway. So you don't have to enter the giveaway, and you don't have to be constrained in what you say beyond fulfilling the requirements of the giveaway. If you do want to enter, you can always do another comment if you want to ask me a question or anything like that. What I will be doing is, people who come regularly to this channel know that I try to actually respond to every comment that I get, even if it's just saying thank you for sharing and so forth, or answering a question if somebody asks it. I will only do that in this particular video if it's clear it's not a contest entry. All I will do for the contest entries is I will heart it. I will love it, so that you will know that I have seen it, but it won't be confused with a response that might be the winning response. Because what will happen is, at 10 days from when this was posted, I will put all the names of all the commenters in a box, and I will randomly draw one. And whoever that is, I will then go and comment back to their comment saying, you are the winner, and this is the email address to contact me on so that we can set it up. And what you'll need to do is have notifications turned on, because that will tell you that you will get the notification that I have responded to you, and I will need you to do a screenshot of that notification, the actual notification that says I've responded to you saying such and such. And if you screenshot that and send it to me, then that way we can all be assured that you get your reading and that someone else can't impersonate you. So that was the way Kino set it up, and I thought it was simple but direct, and it was clear, and it was secure for whoever is actually the winner. So that's what I need you to do. So as I say, you'll get a notification. You should get a notification that I've hearted your entry, so that you know that has come through. If you don't get one within 24 hours, go and check to see if it's there. Every once in a while, randomly YouTube seems to delete comments, and I don't know why. Sometimes they've been, I think, because they've had a link or something like that in it, so don't post a link, not that you would for this contest anyway. But other times it just seems completely random, and I don't know why. And sometimes I see them and they come up on my screen, but I can't, when I go to click to respond, they disappear. I can't do it. So if that's the case, then try again. Just go and put another comment in, and hopefully that time it will actually come through. So I'm hoping that no YouTube glitch gets in the way of anybody entering, but it is just a way of making sure that your entry is in the mix and so forth, just in case a glitch like that occurs. As I say, if you're the winner, I will let you know what email to email me on, and then we will work out with the type of reading you want. So it could be a general reading. You could ask up to 3 questions. It could be done through a video. It could be done face-to-face if we could get time frames to work. Depends on where you live and so forth and all of those sorts of things. But so that might be a bit tricky depending on where you are, but we can try to see if that'd work out, if that's what you'd like. But otherwise, then certainly a video recording, an audio recording, or I could do photographs and actually give you a written response, whatever way that you might want it. So we'll work that all out, because those are the various types of readings that will be available on my Etsy shop as well. So as I say, hopefully that's not been too long-winded and it's been clear. If not, just go back and listen to it again if you want to enter. And in a roughly 10 days time from when I post this video, as I say, I'll do the draw and let the winner know, and we'll go from there. And if this goes well and the person enjoys it, and people generally have been interested in entering something like this, I'll probably randomly do it throughout the year and just announce it, like with this one, with it in the title, that it's a particular video that is connected to a free reading giveaway. So that's my thank you to everybody who's helped me in this channel and building this channel so far. I really do appreciate all your comments and all your support and all your kindness. It's been incredibly gratifying and humbling to have that. So this is a way to give back and to celebrate the new year and to move forward, I think, hopefully in a really positive way for everybody. So that's that bit of it done. So now let's move to the pile choice or reading choice. So I've just chosen different cards from the Rebirth Tarot to help as options, just cards that to me kind of called out about areas or energies around life that could be about rebirth, resurrection, rekindling and all of that sort of thing. And I'm also using the Sacred Symbols tokens as a way to help choose as well too. So I'll just put down the numbers. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what we're going to do in this reading is that we'll start looking at what can be sort of resurrected, what areas in your life have energies that could see something that could be resurrected, rebuilt, rekindled, rebirthed, what is different now than maybe before, and what maybe unconscious or hidden sort of elements should you know about, so that you can best navigate what it is that you're trying to sort of resurrect, as I say. We're then going to do some yes/no questions, a couple of yes/no questions connected to whatever things you're looking to rebirth in your life. So I'll explain that and how that works in the reading, and then we'll have a look at some spiritual support and advice for you in bringing all that together. So that's going to be basically the structure of the reading. There are 4 different readings to choose from. By all means, go to more than one if you feel drawn to more than one. That's really just whatever energy calls to you. For pile 1, I'm using the World card from the Rebirth Tarot. In pile 2, I'm using the Lovers card and the Tree of Life symbol. That's the Sri Yantra, sorry, and this is the Tree of Life for pile 2. For pile 3, I'm using the Pentagram token and the 8 of Pentacles for pile 3, and then for pile 4 I have the Metatron symbol with the Ace of Wands. So hopefully one of those, the colours, the images on the cards, what you understand of what those cards mean or what they tend to say to you, or the number of the reading, something will draw you. If you're not sure, pause the video and contemplate, meditate until you find the reading or readings that draw to you. When you know what they are, as always, the timestamps will be in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So this first row of cards is to show a bit about the area or energies that are ready to be reborn, rekindled, resurrected, rebirthed within your life in 2022. We'll then have a look at what's different now, why is that possible, and then also what kind of hidden energies are there that are worth being aware of. For you, this is something, it looks to me as though in 2021 or last year or in the recent past, depending upon when you listen to this, you have been in a period of withdrawal. It looks as though there was something that you, I think, put a lot of energy into creatively, or in terms of your career, or something about who you were in the world and how you were viewed in the world. It could be romantic, potentially, but I think for most it's probably more creative or career oriented, though we'll see what else comes up. But It looks as though it's something that you withdrew from to recontemplate because you weren't getting the recognition for your talents and abilities that you deserved. So something, whether it was literally that you were caught in a situation where you had to work from home and part of your skill was working with other people and being in groups and so forth, for instance, and so therefore your real skill and ability was not being seen as much because the most communication you tended to have was via email or a Zoom call or something like that, or whether it is a creative project that you had put some work into and tried to take out into the world and it wasn't recognised or taken forward. There's something like that. It has to do with personal recognition and your presence in the world in coming out from behind the shadows and taking this creative energy forward, having that sort of bravery and energy and speed to take something forward. It could, for some of you, be about a relationship. If this was a relationship, then it was one that had really big highs and big lows. It was really emotionally kind of all over the shop, I would say, with the Chariot. I think very intense, but very hard to ground, very hard to control. Maybe even a kind of your own heart and your head were a bit at war around it if it was a relationship. If it's not a relationship and it's about career, there was a lot of potential momentum around this, but the recognition that you could have got, it was not the right time to do it. And I think you were in two minds about doing it. It may have been in collaboration with someone with the Two of Wands, but if so, you were very much the person who was the driving force, and yet something didn't allow you to take that forward. Something made you withdraw. So in a career, it could have been that you were working in a team, you were working maybe with collaborators, but you had an idea, you had a creative drive, but you weren't getting seen in the way that you should be seen, and it made you feel, what's the point? And you kind of withdrew. So whatever this is, if it was a relationship, you felt you couldn't really control what appears to be very sort of fast, passionate, but then, kind of hot and cold and sort of clear and unclear and rational and irrational energy around it that made you feel unseen in some way and made you feel you had to withdraw. So if it's around a relationship, then it is suggesting that there is a possibility to either rekindle and rebirth this one, or to be the phoenix coming from that and rebirth who you want to be in relationship, depending on where that's at. If it's around career or creativity, then definitely this would be an indication that all that sort of pent up sort of creative energy with the Two of Wands, the Knight of Wands, and also the Six of Wands, even though it's reversed, when you can really let go of the brakes and come out from behind the scenes, then you're going to be able to take something forward. So it just feels as though something wasn't right in the timing. And as I say, most people, I think this is going to be around career or creativity, and it would be suggesting that Spirit is saying that whatever this idea was, it still has a lot going for it, but you will be in a better position in 2022 to manage all the variables and to be seen for what you do, because for some reason it just wasn't happening. So let's ask, what is specifically different about 2022 that makes Spirit be suggesting to you to look at rebirthing this particular, either your loving nature, a loving relationship, a passionate one, I would say, or your creative or career passion? Okay, so if this is around career, it is saying that there is somebody who has a position of power, money, or some sort of influence who is ready to see you now. That maybe that person wasn't in place before, or maybe you didn't have access to them, or maybe they were just distracted on other things, but they can connect into your energy now, and they seem to have resources, etc., that allows you to become the Queen of Wands, because that's really who you should be. You should be not the hermit sort of sitting behind the scenes, but someone who is very creatively actualized. That's what's meant to happen, and it looks as though they help you invest in something. So whether it's the next step in your career, whether it's a business, whether it's a creative outcome, what is different is that there is someone with material resources or business acumen or something like that that can bring some of the balance, I think, that you were looking for. This is actually a classic thing for someone who had an enormous creative ability and ideas and so forth, but didn't really know how to land that in a business sense. And now there is this. You could get an agent if you were a creative person. If you were an actor or an actress, you could find a movie director who had the resources and could see your potential. There is something, and they're going to help you invest in who you truly are. That's the energy here, but it will require you to come out from behind the shadows and to take that momentum on and to feel comfortable and confident with it. But what's different is I feel there is someone who is either now already in your orbit and you know who it is, or they're coming into your orbit in early to mid 2022 to allow that to occur. So that's good. What may you not see, or what is unconscious around this that Spirit thinks would help you to make sure that you maximize what could be reborn in 2022 for you? Okay, so what Spirit is saying here is whatever this was that made you withdraw, it was pretty significant. And I should say, if this was a relationship, it's suggesting with a King of Pentacles and a Queen of Wands, you may find the right kind of balance, because what you might have been looking for in this was more stability from the other person, and then you can balance with that. So there is a potential longer term relationship, whether it is a resurrection and a rebirth of an existing relationship, or whether it is you rebirthing yourself for a relationship. And that is possible given these cards, but I still feel most of you, this is something around career or creativity. And I feel like you were very much hurt by whatever happened. It could be that something quite unjust happened, but I feel for most of you, it's more just that you weren't recognised, that maybe you're in an incredibly fast-paced environment where whatever you wanted to bring in, it was almost impossible to get the attention and the time or the resources to do it. Or as I say, you may literally feel isolated because of work from home or something like that. But it did affect your self-esteem. This is why you have an opportunity to get back to being the Queen of Wands and feeling very strong in yourself. But you do need to be aware that this sort of emotional sort of imprinting from this time has made you feel a bit emotionally stuck, and you do need to heal that sense of what didn't go right. If you could recreate this situation again this year simply by not believing that it could turn around. And Spirit is saying that is essentially, if you do it, it's a sort of a lack of courage, a feeling like you're kind of having to be so careful with everything you do, and maybe it's not worth it, and maybe you can't see it through. I think Spirit is saying this time you can, and you will find that support, but you need it. It may suggest that you need to come a little bit out from behind the shadows before you even really connect with this person. You have to be a little bit brave, and you have to commit to sticking with something rather than letting it go. It does look like the easy thing was to let this go, and it was the least apparently painful, but don't underestimate how painful it actually was and how healing it will be if you then move forward with it. So definitely there is something to resurrect and rebirth, whether it's a relationship, as I say, or whether it's a career or creative outcome. But you do need to understand that part of the reason that you didn't get it to work before was that you didn't feel confident enough about to deal with the sort of fast pace of it, or the push-pull, hot-cold energy that was running with it, and it did affect your self-esteem, and it did hurt you. Because I think you're a very kind person, and I think what happened wasn't necessarily kind, it was much more business-oriented, or it appeared to be hot and cold if it was a relationship. And that is the residual energy of it, the sort of Nine of Wands sort of feeling like sort of, I can't really navigate this, I can't see it through. The Four of Cups feeling a bit emotionally stuck. The King of Cups feeling wounded, not really knowing how to heal. But you can, just simply by making the choice to come out of the shadows and do what it is that you want to do. So given that, let's get to the yes-no portion of this. So there's two different ways I do yes-no in readings. One is when it sort of could be anything around types of people and stuff like that. That's not what I'll be doing here. What I want to do with the yes-no here is actually put you in the driver's seat and make you the person who's really making the choices. So the sort of questions that I want you to think of as I shuffle the cards each time are questions that fit with you making a choice about what to do. So to give an example, if this was around a relationship that had been too tumultuous, but you feel now you're starting to get some signals that it could work out, you're a little bit unsure and a bit sort of wary of it, then if you wanted to ask, will this person sort of rekindle it, then that would not be the right question to ask, because that's giving the power to the other person. But if your question was, should I make the first move? Or, is it a good idea to forgive the past, or whatever it might be, that is actually, puts it in your control, so it's the right thing. And what I will be doing is I'll be putting out 3 cards for yes and no for that. I won't be telling you which to do. I'll just be saying the energy that is around either of those choices. So if you think about what this is, and it might be about more than one thing, then think of 2 questions, and we'll go through each one and see what energy is around yes and no for it. So if you could now think about the first of your questions, I'm just going to shuffle a different tarot deck, and then I'm going to lay out cards for yes and for no. Okay, for yes. And then for no. Okay, so firstly what I would say is there's something very pragmatic about whatever question you're asking about here, because there's pragmatism in both outcomes. So if you are worried in whatever your question is about whether or not you are going to do the wise thing or the sensible thing and operate in a sensible way, I think either decision you will do that. And the reason I say that is that for yes, we have the 7 of Cups reversed, which is a pragmatic, emotional approach to things and understanding what your options really are. And when we're talking about no, we have the 2 of Swords connected with the High Priestess, and the High Priestess reverse suggests a very pragmatic, down-to-earth, well-informed way of deciding, like your decision has information associated with it now. So there's something in whatever has happened that you are now looking to rebirth where you have more information at your disposal than you did before. So in either case, it's like either case surfaces more information if you need it, or you have the information to really make that decision. That's not the thing that's missing really. So for yes has an energy of the Sun, which is very positive, which is really that Queen of Wands energy, sort of living into optimism and hope, but in a pragmatic way with the 7 of Cups reversed. It also has the 2 of Wands reversed. So maybe it is picking up that there was something, because this is the 2 of Wands as well, that was a little bit competitive in whatever this was before. It might have been a competitive environment. It might have been a competitive relationship. With it reversed, there is something about yes in this and the pragmatism and emotional maturity that you've brought to it that allows you to stop any of that kind of competition and to shine, to not feel that you have to be the hermit moving away. So yes provides a pragmatic and very self-actualized sort of outcome, but potentially one where you do need to work through, I think you will do it, but work through competition and understand it in a very pragmatic way. If this was around a relationship and the issue was another person, then you will either, yes, maybe suggesting that you know that you can actually be the one chosen, or in fact that's the reason this isn't the right relationship and that you're going to move forward to one that would be working for you, for instance. But there's certainly a sense of pragmatism and being able to win the fight with yes. With no, there is the understanding and the information you need to make a decision and to be unconventional in some way. So it may be that whatever the no is related to is you being a little bit more self-directed and being a little bit different to the pack in some way. But again, you have the information you need to do it. So either looks okay as a response, but one is about you really standing in who you want to be in terms of the creative or passionate idea. The other is about you being really different and almost surfacing the truth of a situation. Okay, so I hope that those sort of energies resonated for that question. I'll now ask you to think about your second question, which may be another version of whatever you've just asked about, or it might be about a different thing that you're wanting to rebirth or resurrect, so that we again will look at yes or no for that option. So yes, and no. Okay. This actually feels a little bit more like a relationship type question. I'm not sure if it is, but why I say that is that I sort of get a sense from the Tower here of a lot of really strong emotions, and I'm picking up that Chariot sort of energy there as well too. Certainly whatever the yes is, whatever this question is, the yes answer has a major transformative impact on your life, a major one. But one that I think with the Princess of Keys, you are well in command of being able to communicate in the way that you need to. Maybe this is picking up competition again, in actually breaking through and clarifying competition that is around you with the Prince of Candles reversed. If not, there's a push-pull to this answer, because the Prince of Candles, which is like the Knight of Wands, which we of course have up here, reversed, suggests that yes is a more slow-moving and careful approach while you have Tower energy around, and how you communicate. So it could be that yes represents a major change in some way, birthing something very new, but you know that you need to take it carefully and step by step because it is so transformative. And because there's something I see, I think it's very interesting that we've got the Two of Candles reversed and the Prince of Candles reversed when we've got the Two of Wands and the Knight of Wands there. It's like yes represents in both cases something very different to the energy around this in 2021, if you are seeing this in 2022, or certainly the more recent energy if it's later. No does represent a new beginning of some sort and resources around that new beginning. You do need to be careful about how you negotiate those, and you do need maybe to settle for something that is maybe not as emotionally connected but has a lot of business or resource potential. So yes is like exploding the world, but doing it as carefully as you can and being very careful how you discuss it. No is like saying, I'm not going to explode the world, I'm just going to plant my seed and I'm going to negotiate as I go along, and I'm going to see it very much as a mental exercise. I'm not going to be necessarily as emotionally connected to whatever the outcome is. If this is around a relationship, it may be a new relationship that you're more careful about, as opposed to trying to resurrect something that wasn't necessarily working before and seeing whether or not you can really revolutionize it. So again, you could do either, and this was the point about this. It was not necessarily to say yes or no is better. It's just to say those are the energies around those questions when you're thinking about what you want to rebirth it and how. So given that, let's actually ask for some direct advice. Let's first of all ask from the Seeker Oracle what you should be seeking going forward now to be able to rebirth or rekindle or resurrect whatever this thing or things are in your life. Okay, we've got illusory obstacles. Have faith. I think that's actually very positive. I think it's saying that some of the things you're feeling very pragmatic, you're feeling careful. I think that's the residual energy from the Hermit there. You are feeling careful in these, even when there's major change. But I think it's saying that most of the obstacles that you're fearing at the moment are more illusory than real. Have faith. And this, I think, is that sense in that second row where I saw the King of Pentacles. I feel like there is a support coming for you. I think it's probably a person, as I say, who has resources and belief in you. But if not, it's just material support around you to help you manifest what you want to do. So don't let the decision on any of these things be based on the path of least resistance, because I think to some degree that's what happened before, and that's why you're in the situation where do I need to rebirth this? Have faith. A lot of the obstacles are going to disappear. So what spiritual abilities or support do you have that could actually help you in moving this forward? Protection. Oh, and Sacred Heart. Okay, so I particularly wanted to use this deck because I think in terms of its sort of design, it's very sort of similar. It's a very nice synergy, I think, with the Rebirth Tarot. And protection here, I think, is the illusory obstacles and that King of Pentacles. There is protection. If that's not a person, it's a guide. For some of you, it may be a spirit guide with Sacred Heart there. This is saying there is something very precious about what it is that you're doing. That's why you have faith and support it, because what you can do is really precious. Whatever didn't have this happen before, was not fair. And if it was a relationship, then maybe its time will come, or maybe it was meant to be a prototype for the right relationship that's coming through. But the key thing is to understand what is sacred to you. That's very interesting, I have to say, even though I'm not going to tell you whether to go yes or no. But sacred heart energy, when we have the oracle and the high priestess reversed, both kind of spiritual energies, might suggest that no, in the case of your first question, is almost too pragmatic in some way, or too information based. Faith and sacred, what is sacred is actually more pure than that. So it may be spirit kind of tilting its cap towards not going to know on that one, but you will know better depending upon your question and how that resonates for you. So I also want to ask what you need to heal to bring this forward, and then we're going to close out with the Astro Chakra cards for some final advice for you. Okay, say what you mean. So this is going right back to the Hermit as the starting point, and you're withdrawing because you felt unheard, unseen, unrecognized. You need to be very clear. A lot of the obstacles that you think are going to be there are not going to be there. You will get the information that you need in either of these cases. You are meant to shine, but you need to be clear about what matters to you. You'll be protected in this process, so don't feel like you have to sit over there in sort of hermit energy into this next year. You're meant to be able to come forward and speak. And again, it's interesting. Again, I'm not saying that this is spirit saying yes is the right answer here too, but it is interesting. The Princess of Keys is about communication and clarity of communication. And this may well be saying that you have the power now to go through the major transformation as long as you're clear in your communication. So again, you'll know better depending upon what your question was as to whether that resonates. So to finish off, we'll just pull 3 cards from the Astro Chakra deck for some astrological and chakra energy around you at the moment to help bring rebirth, resurrect, rekindle, whatever it is, this energy in your life. Okay, so we've got the heart chakra first with Mars. So that's a lot of passionate energy and love. So for some of you, this may well have been about a relationship. So I feel with many it's not. It's more around creativity. And that could be just loving what you do in that case. But it's interesting, compassion is there and selflessness is there. And then there's wisdom, which is searching using your intuition. I feel that the underlying message of all of this is that in the past you've maybe allowed yourself to be suppressed in some way, and what you love to be suppressed, and your energy and so forth, because you are highly compassionate, because you can be very easily selfless, because you're always on a search in your intuition for wisdom, the wisdom of Jupiter. I think the message here is that Mars and Venus and Jupiter here are meant to work for you in this year and create the thing that you want, bring the thing that you love, connect your spirituality and your intuition. You won't lose that sacredness of what you do, but it is your time to shine, and there's nothing wrong with that. And once you recognize that and go with that and say what you mean, you'll find a lot of the obstacles that had existed in the past no longer exist. And if you have faith in the truth of what you do, because you're getting a lot downloaded to you, a lot of wisdom and a lot of love from spirit, then you will find you have the Mars energy to move forward. And if anybody says to you that you are becoming too competitive, as that energy could happen to you, then just look at them compassionately, but don't let that take you off course, because you are meant to come out of the shadows. You are meant to create something new or bring the right love in, whatever it might be. So I do hope that that resonates for you, Pile 1. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and comment below whether it's about the reading or whether you want to enter into the personal reading giveaway. Beyond that, I hope to see you. Oh, and Happy New Year, and if you are listening to this at the beginning of 2022, and I look forward to seeing you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So these first cards are meant to give a bit of a sense about the areas in your life that may be ready to be reborn, rekindled, resurrected, restructured, whatever it might be, to pick up the energy going forward. And I do think for most of you, this is likely to be within career or business, though I will touch upon relationship type issues as well that I see. But it looks to me as though you are coming out of quite a difficult period of time with the Magician reverse and the Ten of Swords. I think that you will have been coming out of a time where your power to manifest, which I think normally is very strong and will be going forward, has been suppressed to some degree. You maybe didn't even feel completely up to something, that maybe you didn't feel you had all the skills that you needed to win a particular battle in recent times, or to get the next promotion, or to launch a business, or whatever it is. The good news is, and why you can resurrect, rebuild, restructure, rekindle, whatever that ambition was going forward, is that this manifestation ability is connected to the Eight of Pentacles. You have built the skills now, that over this period of time, you have built the skills and the resources and the abilities to do what you need to do. You can be more calm about your capacity and your competitive advantage within whatever this is. So whether it is that you didn't feel quite ready to start a business on your own, or you didn't feel quite ready to go for that next promotion, or whatever it might be, you are coming into a time where you realize that you're ready to have that abundance and you're ready to do it. And the peace of mind is coming because you have done the work. You have developed the skills. You do have the mastery. You may, in fact, have tried potentially for a promotion or something like that in the last 12 to 24 months and didn't get it because you weren't quite ready, but you are ready now. So whatever happened before, or if you thought about a business before, but it kind of got defeated by all the weight of all the kind of laws and regulations and business details and all of that sort of thing that made you feel not quite ready yet, you're moving into that period of time. If this is around relationship, I don't think, if you've come to the right reading, I mean, we'll see what other cards come up, but I don't think this is necessarily about a love relationship. I think it would be more likely to be around sort of family connections in some way. And if that's the case, it might have been that you've had an issue with a family member, potentially a paternal or maternal figure, so a parental figure of some sort, or somebody with that kind of nurturing role in some way, and it was maybe even being distanced from them to some degree. But there is a capacity to find the way to resolve whatever that is moving forward. Something dramatic might have happened. There might have been a family dispute. There might have been issues over, an inheritance or something like that. But it looks as though there's something materially shifting that brings peace of mind and a reconnection, if that's the case. So I feel if it's around relationship, it's more something like that, a sort of family or potentially friendship circle type environment, but with someone maybe with more of a nurturing side to them. But there was some falling out, if that's the case. So if you are thinking about, can I sort of re-establish my connections with certain members of my family or past friends or something like that, I think the answer is yes, that you've worked out the way to do it. There can be more peace of mind. Maybe I'm getting that in some cases the whole rift was because they didn't feel very secure and they now feel more secure in themselves, and so you're able to do that. But as I say, for many of you, I think this is about career. So let's ask the cards, what's different now as you move forward? I think we've started to see a bit of that. I think that you have a sense of yourself or a sense of a way to resolve whatever this relationship issue was, if it was a relationship. But what is specifically different now, Spirit, for pile 2, that means that they can rekindle, resurrect, rebirth, whatever this is that they're thinking about? Okay, so firstly, things have come into balance, justice. I do get the sense some of you, this is very specific, but some of you, this may have been a family thing around an inheritance or ownership or something like that. It could have been that, you got divorced potentially, and that is finally through and the resources have been sorted out. There could be any number of things like that, but there's something like that, I think, for some of you that's about family, friendships or relationships in that way, but it's coming into justice. There's a material outcome that is just after a period of time, I think, where there was sort of some emotional sort of blackmail almost around it and sort of a difficulty in sort of like really clarifying what you want to do. This is saying to me that what is different is whatever this thing that's resolved, that's going to start to shift this. It's going to take you, but you have a little bit of way to go, this is saying, around what your ideal is for this. You have a sense of yourself being able to have what you need in your kit bag to do it, but it's almost like you've been struggling so long for whatever this is that you've almost lost sight of what it was you really wanted, because you're moving from the Ten of Swords into the Ace of Swords reversed. If that was the Ace of Swords the right way up, it'd be like you're really getting going. But I think this is saying you've still got to work out what is it that you're really trying to achieve? What is it that you want to celebrate? I don't think you're clear on that yet. I think that it's almost like you were pursuing a career outcome or a business outcome to prove something. It didn't necessarily work out. You're now feeling better because you think you can do it now, and I think you can. Like legally, all the business details are much better aspected. But Spirit is saying that you do need to still work out what it is that would be celebratory to you. What would success really look like? You just need to do that. It's just that one thing you need to do. So picking up on that, the next question is, what don't you see, or what's unconscious around all this? Because this may help us work out how to shift that Ace of Swords. Okay, so firstly, it's interesting. There is a sense around this. So I will go into the thing around family, because it could be around family. But if this is around a business or a career idea, what you're not really seeing yet is that what you would value, I think, materially is not necessarily the same as what those around you value materially. So even if you became a boss in an organization, it's like that's not really the point to you. It's maybe to be a leader and help others. Like there's something, it's almost a disconnect between what your skills are and the environment you're in and what you truly value. So there is a question here about you can bring into being whatever you want to with the Empress, but what you're maybe not seeing, and maybe why there's almost like a kind of a mental block that you are keeping up even as everything starts to align and you're able to deal with it. There's something that you don't feel fully committed to in some way. And it really is just a choice you need to make, because there's so much potential. Like, I think what this is saying is that you very much underestimate yourself, and you underestimate how far you could go with whatever this is. And because of that, you almost self-limit yourself. And if you really did determine what it was that would be celebratory for you and what success would really look like, you would very quickly move to that. But it's almost like you're following, and this may be following a family idea about what success is, or what your schooling told you. So you might be just done law and be ready to be a very successful barrister, but it's the last thing you want to do, because really the reason you like that was that you love to sort of get up and talk about ideas and things like that, and really maybe you should be a politician or an actor or something. There's something where you do really have all that you need to be successful in either what you're doing at the moment or in something else if it's closer to your heart. But you do need to make the decision about what is true to you and what would be success to you. And you haven't really done that. And in a weird way, you self-sabotage, because you are the magician really, but because you haven't done the work, it's almost like you don't quite grab your opportunities to the degree you could, because you're not as committed to them as you would be if you'd really worked out what you wanted to do. So it's a little bit complex for you, Pile 2. So maybe to help with that, what I want to do now is move to asking a couple of questions. They're yes/no questions, but they're not the sort of question that is in somebody else's control. So for instance, if you were looking at the next step in a career, the question should not be, will I be offered this job? Because that is out of your control, really. The question would be, but a question that was like, should I apply for this job, or should I approach this person to be a mentor, for instance? That is within your control. And then what we will be looking at is the energies around yes and no. It won't necessarily be telling you whether yes and no is the right thing, but it's the energies around it to help you make the decision about what you would do. And we'll do that for 2 questions. So it could be 2 questions on the same thing, or it could be 2 questions more generally. I'm just getting one other thing. If this is around a family issue, an inheritance or family issue, there might be a child involved as well. So it may be decisions that just need to be made, taking into account the impact on a child. I'm just getting that to say that might resonate for someone who's come here. It's very specific, but it is a possibility with those cards. Okay, going back to the question. So can you now think of your first yes/no question while I shuffle the cards? And then I will lay out 3 cards for yes and 3 cards for no. Okay, 3 cards for yes. And 3 cards for no. Okay. So this feels like a question that is very much about whether or not to complete something that you've been doing. Because in the yes, the answer around this is there's a choice, a material choice about completing something, bringing something to its fruition and its full energy. But to do that, there is a certain amount of lack of freedom. So very classically would fit one of the readings I said of this, where it might be that it's the next step in a career and it's the one that's logical from your education, but it may not be as close to your heart as something else might be, but it may be a decision to do that because all other things weighed up, it still seems like a good thing to do. So if this is a question around the next step in a career that you couldn't pursue before, but you're feeling you could resurrect now, then that would say that yes is about completing something that has a material impact, but something that requires a certain limitation on you. Whereas no is more about independence, standing independently, being different with the hangman there, but maybe it's a little bit more emotionally risky. So, but it may also come from the fact that unless you feel that your unique way of looking at things and your independence is honoured in something, you will not be emotionally happy. So no would be the answer for someone who wants to be very different and stand on their own 2 feet and be very independent in whatever this is. And yes would be someone who is happy to make the compromises that is necessary to complete something and to really get their return on investment in some way. So hopefully those 2 sort of energies will help you in determining which way to go with that particular question. So let's go for the second question. So think of another one. It could be a follow-on question from this, or it could be something quite different. But a yes/no where you are the person who gets to decide. So yes. And no. Okay, whatever this question is, either option has quite a bit of conflict associated with it by the looks of things. Because over here we have the 5 of Wands, which is conflict, with the 7 of Swords reversed, which is often where things are not necessarily honest or on the up and up. And the 4 of Pentacles seems to be about consolidating or keeping resources in some way or keeping security. So yes seems to be giving the energy. 5 of Wands is not major conflict, but it's like little spats and little arguments and so forth. And this will be saying that whatever the yes answer, going yes with this, you need to be prepared for the fact that you are valuing security, but that means that you're putting up with a certain amount of intellectual or communication type sort of slings and arrows, potentially sort of a little bit of sort of tension and so forth. If it was to move to the next level in an organisation, it might be saying I'm consolidating my career and I know that I'm going to a more political level and it's going to be more of that sort of rubbish, but I'm going to do it anyway. So that would be a kind of energy around that. No is there is peace of mind. It, in some ways, looks like an easier option, but it also has a sense of loss associated with the 5 of Keys. So it's got its own conflict around loss, but you look as though it's kind of a calmer option, but not necessarily one that allows you to have as much enjoyment. So this looks like I'm going to stand in my space and claim what is mine, or I'll compromise and let go of what isn't working or what's in conflict. That's what that feels like. So there's a bit more peace of mind over here. There's a bit more security over here. So hopefully those sort of energies resonate to your questions. To help a little bit further, We're going to use a few oracles just to look at some support for you. So we're going to use the Seeker Oracle to see the sort of energy that you should seek when making these decisions and rebirthing or rekindling or resurrecting whatever these things are in your life. One faithful friend. The key to wisdom. Okay, I would be saying that that's pretty clear. It would be saying there's someone around you who is a very good source of wisdom and clarity. And I think you will know whoever that is. And in fact, it may be that they help you work out what's the balancing of this, so that, and they probably know what has occurred before and are there for you. But I think that there is someone who gives you that. Go to a friend. There is a friend around you who really can give you the perspective you need, because there's something a little bit heated around all of this energy. There's something conflict based in some ways, and there's something quite competitive around it. So I think this friend is going to help you make the wisest decision. Let's ask what spiritual gifts you may have or support you may have in this time. Activation and influence. Yeah, look, this is definitely, for most of you, with the exception, as I say, of anybody who resonated to sort of something around family disputes, in which case, again, there's sort of one family member or one friend who can help you bring this into balance. For most of you, this is about activating something in terms of your personal power, your abundance, and the next step up in a career or a business or something like that. And your influence, your power of influence. You are actually highly influential, but I think that you maybe relied on that to start with, and you needed to have, the sort of qualifications or whatever it is. Now you have the qualifications as well too, so you can activate that influence on a higher level. You're definitely meant to move forward in whatever this is. And even despite whatever your answers were there to your questions, it should be about activating who you are and using your influence now and backing the capacity that you have and feeling happier and calmer in that you can do it. So to help, let's ask what you might need to heal in this period of time. Home. Okay. So for those that this is about a family issue, then I do think that justice is coming in, the right resource outcomes are coming in, but there probably will be some sort of conflict and tussle still with it. But you can activate your influence on this, and I think have a connection to a friend to give you support. But there may literally be something about the home fires that you need to resolve, as and you can rebirth and resurrect and so forth, literally. If it's not about family, then there is something about who you are at your absolute core. I'm feeling like home there is like the fourth house in your astrology chart. It's who you are at home. It's who you really are. It could be saying for some of you that you're sharing a flat or something with a friend, and that's indicating where that is. But I think it is something about owning who you are and what you care about in making those decisions, because now you have so many skills in your kit bag. You could go in any number of directions, but is it really what you want? And if it is a career thing that your family has supported you, you may need to heal something with your family if you decide to go and do something different. So let's finish off with some Astro Chakra cards for that sort of energy around you at the moment to help you with rebirthing, resurrecting, rekindling, rebuilding, whatever it is that you want to do that sort of energy with in your life at the moment. Okay, so a lot of this does have to do with home, survival, career, who you are at your base, how you make your money. There's a lot of root chakra energy around this, and it's very transformative and it's very emotional. And I think it's knowing that there is an emotional cost to all of this and how your choices are done, and really trying to get that balance, I think, between pentacles and cups, between what it is that you need resource-wise to exist comfortably and securely in the world, but also what will make you happy, what is emotionally secure as well. You need to cover both. And if this is picking up something around a family or a child or whatever, that's going to be the thing, the transformation and change that's going on around the home base. The key to working it all out is what feels emotionally strong for you and for the other parties. And then connecting everything in how you communicate, putting all your energy into communication. So in your career, that's certainly your influence and so forth, speaking your mind, speaking your truth, being ambitious, owning that. But if it is around career, know that there is something very fundamental to how you see yourself in the world and how you want to transform the world, and that you do have the capacity because you've done the work, you've transformed yourself, you have what you need now, but there's something that you need to validate that, I think, which is probably the next career promotion or whatever it might be. But you need to communicate your energy and your life direction. And when you do that, you can bring all that into being because you are highly influential. So I do hope that that has given you an idea about what you can rebirth, resurrect, rebuild in your life going forward. I think it really is, for most of you, something around a career or creative dream and who you want to be in the world and how you want to make money and what your status is and all those sorts of things. For some others, it may be around repairing a family type scenario in some way, but I do think it is possible to do it. Just need to be aware of how to balance the transformation and the emotions under those cases as well. In either case, there is support for you. I do hope that that resonates for you, Pile 2. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already done so. And in the comments, if you want to share, please do. Certainly let me know a little bit if you are wanting to enter for the personal reading. But beyond that, if you have any questions or thoughts, by all means share that as well. Beyond that, if you are watching this at the beginning of 2022, I wish you a very happy new year, and I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So this first line of cards is meant to give a bit of a sense about the areas in your life where something could be reborn, rekindled, resurrected, restructured, whatever it might be at this time. And I do think a lot of people, this is probably around a love relationship or potentially family relationships, certainly something very emotional. It is possible also around career, and I will talk about career as well because it is possible to see that in these cards. But my feeling when I lay these cards out is that for most of you, this is about the opportunity for recognition, victory, passion or whatever in a relationship where you've possibly felt that there wasn't the passion and the emotional fulfillment that you wanted, maybe because the other person was so focused on material issues, power and so forth. It's possible for some that this may have been a power struggle in the relationship, but I feel more like it's absence almost. It feels as though there's been a relationship which maybe it was wonderful, it could very well have been wonderful, but work and other pressures or something else has caused a kind of a dimming of the flame to some degree, and as a result you felt a little bit kind of left to the side. Or you have done that and your partner has felt that. It could be either way around here. But I feel what this is saying is that the area where something could be reborn, resurrected, rekindled is around an emotional, passionate relationship. It could also pick up people who have been very focused on their work and getting the achievements, and as such have put all that on the back burner, and maybe you haven't even been in a relationship for quite a while. So it's not even around getting the passion and the fire back into an existing relationship. It might be about even seeing yourself in terms of relationship as opposed to sort of worldly success and so forth. And that you could be at any age for this. I mean, you could be just finishing school or university and you might have been putting so much into that you know, really thinking about the longer term emotional side of your life, and anything that was long-standing was just not on the horizon. You either dated a lot but didn't commit, or you just didn't have time for it. So it's either you not having time for it, or it's potentially a relationship where you felt the passion and the promise of it has waned, or somebody went no contact or something. So this is an area where something can be reborn in your life, either bringing love back into your life, looking at a longer-term love relationship, or even resolving one that was sort of diminishing or was more separated or just felt like it had lost its passion. It is possible for some, as I say, this could also be around career success and sort of finding how to work within the sort of rules, structures and power of an organisation that you're in, or creatively in the industry that you're in. And maybe you had a great deal of love for something that you were doing, but it just hadn't yet flowered, but it now has that possibility. So that is possible as well. But I think for most people, this feels like love. It feels like relationship in some way. So let's ask what's different now in your life that would allow that to shift, that would allow the passion and the love to come back in, or the creative interest and sort of recognition around a career to come in, whatever it might be. Okay, so firstly, if this is around a relationship, it is possible for some, this is going to be very specific, but I'm going to say it because these cards could be saying it, that the relationship had not been able to take because the person was with someone else. And it's possible that what's shifting is that they are separating from a longer term relationship. So for some that may fit, it's very specific, but it is possible. Otherwise, it feels as though some of the shift is around something that didn't feel just or right in some way. And that could be that the person just wasn't ever there because of work. It could be because they were caught up in some sort of legal issue that was really complex and was taking their time, or that they worked within highly political and highly sort of legal environments which were very exhausting and were having an impact or something. But there's something, an injustice is shifting and things are coming more into balance. And your connection with a person, if it's a person, or with a new person, if it's just you getting back into the love stream, so to speak, whatever it might be, or even with your creativity, is highly intuitive. You've opened up your inner knowing. This could be picking up somebody who has almost connected on a 5D level because of the absence of the person. This could be picking up twin flame type energy, and there's a real chance to do something and bring it into the 3D now, to have a sort of reciprocal, balanced sort of relationship, rather than one that was kind of not in balance and so forth. There's a shift around the structure of whatever this is, career, relationships, your life, their life, but it's around intuitive connection and intuitive understanding, and understanding the mystery behind things, high degree of wisdom, and a more reciprocal energy. It just feels like it was out of balance, like either you were too focused on one thing and now you're getting that into balance, or the other person was, or maybe both of you were. Whatever it is, there is a chance for much more reciprocal energy to come through, but it does require understanding that imbalance and understanding the kind of like mental stress that was putting on you and potentially the other person if this is a love relationship. So let's ask what is a bit unconscious, or you may not really understand or see, but would be worthwhile to know to help make the most of this and really bring this really good energy in. Okay, some of this is about courage to face up to whatever wasn't working. So if this is a relationship that was out of balance, the person was never there, it may be that you need to move away from it. It's not that needs to be reborn. It's your sense of self, so that you can find the right and reciprocal relationship that's truly spiritually aligned. That's possible. If it is more that it is just that it got out of balance, as I say, then having the courage to speak the truth of that and to move forward with it is required, to say where it isn't making you happy, because at the moment, if you are in this relationship and you're kind of hanging on with grim determination, it's got to shift and change for it to be really what you want and for you to be really seen. It's leaching the happiness out of it at the moment. But it does require you to come out from behind the scenes and speak your truth. There's something here where you need to speak your truth about what you want. So if you have been putting love on the back burner, if that's what it is, it might be that you literally just have to get out in the dating scene a bit, because just the work is not going to make you happy. You do need to sort of have the courage to get out there if that's the case. And if it's about a relationship that was separating a bit, you need to have the courage to speak the truth, to see if you can resolve it and rebuild it and rebirth it. And if not, to be able to let it go so that you can bring the right energy in. So a lot of this is down to you just having the courage to sort of move forward and bring your own life in balance, and then demand that other people are in balance as well around you. So we're going to move to the yes-no part of this. So this is a particular way I do yes-no in tarot. So there's two different ways I do it, and this particular way is about the energies around a choice, and it's meant to be a choice that you have control over. So the wrong sort of question in a situation like this, say this was about a relationship that had kind of died a bit on the vine and you were trying to work out whether or not you wanted to rebirth it. The wrong question would be, will that person come back to me? Or will that person commit? Because it's giving all the power to the other person. It's not a helpful question in this. But the right question might be, should I state what I really want? Or should I ask the person out or suggest a date night? That kind of thing. So it's where you have the power. And then what we are going to do is that we're going to look at the energies around yes and no. It's not going to necessarily tell you whether to do yes or no. It's just showing the energy that's around it to help you make that decision. So if you could think of your first question while I shuffle another tarot deck, I'll then lay out 3 cards for yes and 3 cards for no for that question. So for yes, and for no. Okay, this is a pretty significant question, I would say, that you're asking. So for yes, it's a little bit simpler than no, really. For yes, it is saying that there is some compromise around some of what you want in terms of passion. It's interesting. The Princess of Candles is like the Page of Wands. They're both reversed. So there is something in the yes that is a little bit similar to some of the current energy, but there is a new beginning that you can really stand strong and feel secure in with the Queen of Talismans. It also suggests a degree of loyalty to whatever this new beginning is. So it could be literally saying, I'm going to rebirth this, should I rebirth this relationship? Should I recommit to it? And yes would be the sense that you would then really commit to it, that yes is about commitment and you are true in that. That's absolutely what you were determined to do. But it may be aware that you may not instantly get all the new passion that you were looking for, that you've got to commit before you necessarily could bring that in, for instance. No is a lot more tricky, I have to say. And this doesn't necessarily mean that no is the wrong answer, because it depends on your question. But with the Tower energy, there is a massive change around no. It is fundamentally shifting something in some way. And it's a necessary change, I think, to free you from some almost intellectual limitations you put around this. And it would be because you decided that something was no longer really a return on investment. So if this was around a relationship that had separated, no might be you determining that really the best thing you can do is to let it go, because, and so not rebirth it, but rebirth you within love, because it's not going to, you're trapped in sort of something that's not returning an investment, and nothing other than a really major change is going to work for you. So no is very major change, freedom oriented. Yes is recommitting in some way to something, or committing to something, being really sure and seeing it through. Even if it does mean that you don't get every single thing that you want, there is a sense of security around yes. Okay. So think about a second question. It might be flowing on from that, or it might be on a different issue entirely. And again, we'll do yes and no for that. Yes. And no. Okay. So yes, as a lot of potential around it for you with the Sun there. There's a lot of optimism around yes, and there's peace of mind with the Six of Keys and a sense of kind of being able to journey and move forward. And there's a liberation from something that was controlling before. If this is a person and that Emperor, then yes may be about you fundamentally moving away from that person or shifting that relationship in some way. So if the question is about, should I rekindle this relationship? If the answer was yes, there's a lot to be said for it, but it requires a big shift on that person's part, and that may be, you know, something you have to bear in mind and help to bring about to make that happen. If the answer is no, it seems to be about liberating yourself from mental patterns that were really causing you quite a lot of pain and quite a lot of self-esteem issues. So no is a cry of freedom, just like no is there actually. Both no's in this feel like a cry of freedom, a cry of change, and liberation from a mental sort of prison in some way. It's also possible with the Queen of Keys reversed that there may be a critical person around you. You may have criticism from that, if so someone who liked to control you with the Devil card there, but nevertheless it is freedom from that, and the worst is over with whatever no is as an answer. So hopefully those energies make sense to you in the context of what you're doing. Let's ask for a little bit more advice. So firstly, we're going to ask the Seeker Oracle the sort of energies that you should seek in making these decisions and in rebirthing and resurrecting whatever it is that you want to rebirth or resurrect in your life. So we've got expand your universe and hush, listen. Okay, I think this is saying that there is quite a lot of kind of like power issues and things like that around all of this, and you need to listen to the other person as well. If you want to resurrect a relationship that got too distant or had power issues or whatever, then it's sort of like certainly speak your truth, but also listen, because don't sort of jump to conclusions. The no's over here might almost be preemptive, jumping to conclusions, assuming something and so forth. So certainly if you want to resurrect something with a person, then it's important to listen to that person. But it's also saying that it may or may not be that person in the end. Like it may be that, as I say, instead of resurrecting a love relationship, it might be resurrecting love for yourself. Or it might be saying that whatever you do in terms of resurrecting this relationship, you have to keep the energy there for you to be the sun, for you to expand your universe and to be able to grow and build. It's not going to work for you if it keeps you in a Queen of Wands energy reversed. You need to be able to step into your own power and your own sunlight, so to speak. Okay, let's see what sort of spiritual energies, powers or gifts might help you during this time. Believe and activation. Okay, so I think this is saying whatever it is that you actually want out of this, you can make happen. That's why it's sort of like I'm thinking that hushed listen is there. It's like if you kind of naturally would catastrophize based on the past, you need to hush and listen and hear what the other person's saying, because they've probably been changing as well if it's about another person. If it's about a career thing and it hasn't really worked in the environment you're in, but that you have an opportunity to move that forward, listen to the environment you're in and make a decision with a bit more information. But believe in yourself and expand your universe. Whatever it is that you are bringing in and resurrecting and rebirthing, make it as big as it can be. Make it as sunshiny as it can be, and activate that. Just don't sit in a fear sort of energy. So if you are going to go no and it sort of explodes the world, let the world explode and then activate what comes out of it. If it's about yes and committing to something or one or more things and so forth and really shining your light, then believe and activate it. It is very much saying that the power is in your hands. So let's ask what you need to heal in this time to help you. Courage, yeah. That's really all you need. I think it's partly because most of you, this is about relationship, and I've got to say the hardest thing for most people is to have courage in relationships, because it goes straight to the heart. It's true of all of us. We're often more courageous in our careers and things like that than we are in relationships, because it matters so much, because it goes right to our core. But courage here and belief is really all you need to activate what it is that you want and to rebirth, resurrect, rebuild, reclaim whatever it is that you want to do with this energy going forward. So to close out, let's use some Astro Chakra cards for some further advice for you around the energies to activate at this time. Okay, so firstly we have the sacral chakra, so creativity, fertility, all of those sort of things. Certainly if any of this was around wanting to sort of move to a different level around a family, this is a very good sign. And yes, you know, if that had to be put on hold because of career, for instance, then certainly it would be suggesting you're coming into an energy time where that's going to work very well. But it is about transformation with Pluto there, so releasing your energy, releasing who you are, and then committing to it in terms of your self-esteem and power and how you communicate with the solar plexus chakra with Mercury there, communicating who you are, really, as I say, turning that Queen of Wands round. But being aware that there is something deeply emotional about this, and security is important to you. So again, when you're thinking about these yes and no's, remember the yeses appear to be more around security, the no's seem to be more about blowing everything up. It may be veering much more to yes than no for most people in this, but if not, then really embrace the transformative energy of the no here to release the energy so that then you regain your power. And listen. Don't, because there's going to be clues for you as you go through the process. So Pole 3, I hope that makes sense for you. I hope it resonates. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already done so. If you care to share in the comments, that would be great, particularly if you do want to enter for a personal reading. Beyond that, if you are listening to this at the beginning of 2022, I wish you the happiest of New Year's, and I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 4, to your reading. So these first cards are meant to give us a bit of a sense about the type of area in your life where something could be reborn, resurrected, restructured, reformed, whatever it is that you're looking to bring back, reconsider, and reconstruct in some way. I think for most people coming here, this has to do with work or something sort of political or legal or intellectual. There's a very, very strong sort of sense of power in the world here, very strong sense about the sort of intellectual or legal or even scientific underpinnings of things, and a contested environment, something that can be reborn after a lot of, I think, dispute, contesting in some way. So it literally could have been legal. You could have been going through legal battles of various sorts. It could be a battle of ideas, a battle of politics or philosophy in some way. What is happening is that the worst of that is done, and there is a time to clear out the energy and work out what did and didn't work out of your philosophy or your beliefs at this stage, and you have spent some time contemplating that. So being born out of the contemplation of the outcomes of various battles. This would be classic for someone who is either a lawyer or a politician or a community activist or something like that. There's definitely that sort of energy of being prepared to go out into the fight. And there's a lot about ideas, communication. You could also be a journalist or a communicator in some way in a very contested area. And I think it's partly a battle with authority. I think that you are someone who very much values and has developed a high degree of personal actualization, personal morality, personal beliefs, and so forth. And you're very inspiring, very charismatic to people. So there is something, I think, it's like the ambitions that you might have had to sort of lead a group, lead a movement, start a communications channel, start a YouTube channel. There's something that is about ideas and communication and your mental acuity connected to your creativity that somehow deals with power issues, and you have spent time contemplating this, because I think possibly you've tried to do it, or you've got so far with particular battles or whatever, and you haven't fully brought into being what you want to bring into being, and there's maybe an idea or a belief or an approach or a strategy or something like that you really want to bring into being. If this is about relationship, then it's a relationship that was passionate and very much in the mind, but there wasn't a lot of heart around it by the looks of things. And that may or may not be an issue to you if this case is. If this is about a relationship, there was a power struggle in it, and there was a meeting of the minds, but also a battle of the minds, very mental, very passionate, but not necessarily looking like it was sort of one for the long term or was emotionally resonant. So if you're looking to resurrect that, then they think you would need to be saying, what is it that you want to resurrect? And it's fine if that's the sort of relationship you like, but you need to know that it's likely to follow that pattern again, I think, if that's the case. Could also be a relationship that's been largely in the sort of 5D realms as well. So it is possible that you could be looking to bring that and actualize it into something having been much more a meditative thing. So that's a possibility as well too. But I do think for most of you, this is around some sort of political, philosophical, scientific, communication-based leadership that you're meant to have, I think. And there is a real opportunity to resurrect the pathway to that going forward. So let's ask, what's different now that's going to allow that to really get reborn, resurrected, reshaped, whatever it is that needs to be done? Okay, so it is definitely saying something didn't quite work out. And it had an emotional impact. It's interesting, the things that have been a block to you have been more emotional, even though I think you're much more comfortable living in your head and to some degree in your passions and creativity. But some of the blockages, some of the things that needed to change were emotional around what was truly joyous, what was going to be the thing that would be the ultimate outcome, the ultimate dream for you. And I think that's what's changing is you realise you can't do everything on your own. It does look to me like part of this was being the iconoclast, being the person who is very different. And I think you are very different. I think you're very, very clever. I think you're very, very creative, really unusual, incredibly articulate probably. And I think you're used to being that, being the person who really stands out in the room, the person who really does take their own path. But I think that you've realised there's something where you just keep battling if you just do it on your own. And there's an opportunity now, I think, to find an emotionally quite connected relationship, whether it's a love relationship or whether it's in a career. It could be either or it could be both, but it's understanding you can't do everything on your own, that you need, it's almost like whatever this is needs a bigger platform than it would be if you were just in your own business or even in your own community organisation. It's like you've got to be on a bigger stage and you need more people around you, and you've understood that. So let's ask what you might not yet know. What could be hidden that you need to know about or think about, or unconscious in you, that will help you rebirth whatever this ambition is? Because I think for most of you it is an ambition. Okay, so Spirit is saying part of the reason I think that you can't do everything on your own is that you don't have enough resources on your own to do this. And if you try to do it just on your own, you're not going to get that kind of long-term success that you want to get, that actually is the underpinning, the foundation for this. That in fact you'll get so caught up worrying about how you make the money out of it and how to deal with all the sort of like day-to-day sort of administrivia and difficulty around it, that will get in the way. So it is saying you need to find a partner, whether it's a business partner, a romantic partner, both, a friend. Even some of you, it may be that you need to heal something in a family situation where you've been really different, like maybe sort of particularly with a paternal figure. You need to understand the importance of like whatever resources they may be able to give you and work out how not to feel trapped by that intellectually. So for some of you, this might be picking up that you've wanted to do something so different to the rest of your family, but to really succeed, you maybe need that sort of resourcing and help, or so different to an organisation, or so different to an industry in some way. Your wish to be an iconoclast is wonderful, and it's one of the things that makes you really vibrant, but it equally can make it hard for you to get the resourcing. And without the resourcing and the support of others and the networks that you need, you just trap yourself in petty issues, which dims the creativity. It's really classic of somebody who maybe wants to write a book, for instance, like the next bestseller or whatever, but they want to do it completely on their terms. They don't want an editor, and they don't want to be, doing a 9-to-5 job. And then they find themselves worrying about how they're going to pay the bills and dealing with all the sort of issues around the industry, and it just blocks the creativity and stops them from achieving what they're trying to achieve. So really, Spirit is just saying, really getting that you need the right networks and the right resourcing so that you don't trap yourself, because that very clever mind can trap itself. That allows you to properly really rebirth and resurrect whatever this thing is. So let's ask the questions. So the yes/no questions, there's two different ways that I like to do yes/no questions, and one is sort of kind of will something happen or not happen and so forth. That's not the way I'm doing it here. This is actually questions that are meant to put you in the driver's seat, because I think it's really important when you are trying to rebirth or resurrect something that you really are making the decisions. You're not leaving it up to the environment or to other people. So a question around this, for instance, that was, say this was your father giving you sort of some financial support. A question of will my father give me the financial support is not the right sort of question, because it gives the power to the father. But a question like, should I explore what support I might be able to get from my family for this? Or should I explore business partnerships and what's involved in that? That puts you in the space. And then the yes/no is about the energies for either of those options. It's not telling you which to do, it's just telling you the energies, so that ultimately you can just use that information as best fits you. So with that in mind, if you could think about your first question of that type, that's yes/no, but it's yes/no for something that you could do, think, or whatever, so that you're in the driver's seat. I'm just going to shuffle cards while you're thinking of that, and then I'm going to lay out 3 cards for yes and 3 cards for no. So for yes, and for no, wow, there's quite a lot of pretty strong energy around whatever this question is. It doesn't surprise me. There's a lot of strength, a lot of power around this whole reading. Yes, somehow has to do with a different way of thinking, a new idea, a new approach. So it's very much in accordance with this sort of energy, and it certainly has a lot of promise and a lot of optimism to it. But you are very much at the whim of fortune to some degree with yes. You're kind of going into it with a new idea, but you're not really sure yet where it's going to go. And the Wheel of Fortune, whichever way it is, it doesn't really matter that much whether Fortuna is right way up or not, to be frank, because the Wheel of Fortune turns, and sometimes we're at the top and sometimes we're not. So I just think when that card comes up in either way, it really is just saying that there is a certain degree of unpredictability about this. And all you can do is trust to the strong energy there, because the rest of that is kind of out of your control. So there's something about this new idea. Maybe it's just because it's still not completely formed and you haven't worked out the material underpinnings for it yet. But there's something about yes, which is very optimistic and has a lot of promise, but it is also at the whim of fortune to some degree. No lets you make is much more of a core decision, but it seems like it completes something in some way that you are looking at differently. So it could be the sort of answer that comes when you've decided to leave something behind rather than rebirth it, so that you can do something really new. So it could be that sort of energy, or it could be that no, you are much more in the driver's seat to see things through, but you're going to have to do it differently. It actually requires you to do something differently and have a different perspective. And it may not be immediate. The Hanged Man there might suggest that the full fruition with the universe of what no would represent here might take some time to be seen. So I think in either case, you're going to have to be comfortable with not knowing the outcome and yet still making this decision. So let's ask about another question, and it may be a follow-on one from this if you want a little bit more clarity on this particular question, or it may be on a different issue or a different way of looking at this particular issue. Whatever it is, similarly again, a yes and no where you would be the actor who decided and did something as a result of that, and then we'll put out cards for that. So for yes, and for no. Okay, so yes, I have to say, looks a little bit fraught. It looks as though yes is in something that there isn't a clear foundation. and where the people involved are not clear, and there seems to be quite a lot of anxiety. So this may be a question that is about who to connect with or who to find your energy from. And I feel if that's the case, the yes is suggesting that is a reasonably high risk around whatever you're asking there. Doesn't mean you have to not do yes, but I think you need to be aware that it's more an expedient thing. I think it would not necessarily be something for the long term, because it's just not clear that the relationships are what they appear to be. For no, there is the need to communicate more and have a new vision and try something a little bit on your own. The interesting thing about this pile 4 is that the rest of this reading is suggesting you can't do things on your own, but I feel as though that this feels like you've asked about a particular person or a particular set of people as an option, and I suspect the answer here is that if it was just down to that, you may be better off going no and doing it on your own for the moment until you found the right people, because this feels very fraught. And if it is about getting help from family or from existing sort of power brokers, it doesn't mean you can't do it, but it does mean that it's probably not your long-term people, if that makes sense. If you weren't asking about that in particular, then I still think there's something about yes that causes quite a degree of anxiety and is only a short-term option. No is potentially a longer-term option, but it requires a lot on your part in terms of communicating with others and in forging a new way of being and operating sort of on your own, maybe more than the rest of the reading was suggesting you should do. So it's a tricky sort of energy, but it will depend upon what your questions were. So to help you a little bit more, we'll just ask for a bit of support. So firstly, from the Seeker Oracle, what should you be seeking, the energies you should be seeking to help decide what and how to rebirth things into your life? So we've got not so black and white, unorthodox approach. Okay, so I mean, that makes sense, because this is the feeling I've got. When you drill into it in the questions, it's not so black and white. It looked at the beginning like, okay, the only real issue here is that you're such an individual and you need to work with others. I think that message is still there, but it's not so black and white in as much as I think you have to be quite discerning about who you work with and for what period of time, and that you have to make sure you're not trapped by people, that you need to be the leader in this. You need to be the King of Wands, because you have a very unorthodox approach, but that's your power. That's your superpower. It's your magical extra secret sauce. It's the thing that really matters and will take you through that. And it's really finding that balance. So it's about finding, and you can have people that you work with or mix with for a period of time, as long as you have good boundaries around that, and that you don't lose who you really are. But in the longer term, it would be good to find the right people, but they've got to be people who are a bit more like you, that are a bit more unorthodox in what they do. So to help you find that, what sort of spiritual gifts or approaches might be helpful? Praise, intelligence. Okay, well, you've got intelligence in spades. Though I think this probably also means intelligence as in like doing your research. So don't jump into things without reasonable information. All that's going to do is make you anxious, to be frank. And because you are so mentally sort of attuned, you know, you can catastrophize. Anybody who's really strongly of the sword or the mental sort of persuasion can imagine things as worse than they actually are. There's also praise here. I think it may be saying that part of what will help you find your people is finding the people that you can praise and look up to. I think that because you've been so unusual and different, you were probably precocious when you were young. People have probably always thought, wow, this person is really different, and you've got a lot of praise. I think it's you also giving praise and finding the people who understand that and value that. That might be how you will actually find the people that you need. And also praise spiritually. Praise to your guides and to how they help you through this and give you guidance and so forth. So there's something about seeing in others as well, and seeing clearly in others, using that really clear mind, but not just to work out who you can't trust, but also to be able to work out and praise and bring and draw towards you the people that you can. because you are just very different, and so that does make it trickier for you than for others. So let's ask what you need to heal during this time to get this balance right. Okay, the inner child. Okay, for some of you, there might have been issues with your family, and if you are relying on your family for money or support or validation, that might be why some of this yes, you know, particularly in the second question, looks like it's like a little bit trapping as well as, and I think that would be saying do it for a period of time and not forever. You were very, very smart, I think, from when you were young. That may or may not have worked for you within your family. You might have been the truth teller that wasn't appreciated, or it might be that, you know, at school or at university or even at work you've been the iconoclast or whatever. There's a part of you that is quite wounded, and I think, I mean, and that often happens with brilliant people who aren't always understood. It is ultimately going to be the thing that does become your success and makes you the King of Wands, but I think there is something about where you get validation, how you get validation, what matters to you on that level, and what connections matter to you on that level, that if you heal that, then you'll have a much clearer idea about how to navigate your eccentricity and difference, but still be able to connect with the right people. Use that intelligence, as I say, for connection as well as for being this brilliant shining star that's so different to everybody. So to finish off, let's have some Astro Chakra cards just for some sort of closing summary information for you to help you during this time for what you want to rebirth, reclaim, rebuild, whatever it might be. Because this feels like you want to rebirth or reclaim something that was very dear to you right from when you were young, and something that's very true to you, but which maybe has been hard to fully bring into being because you are so different. So yes, let's see what energy will help you. So firstly, you're going through a major transformation with two Plutos there. So Pluto both in the root chakra, so the survival instinct and so forth, and also in the solar plexus, your own personal power. Huge, huge capacity to transform both who you are at a core and your power in the world. And you have Mercury also in the solar plexus chakra, so that's like having Mercury and Pluto conjunct. So your power of your mind, the power of what you can communicate, do not underestimate it. It is massive, and you are coming into a time where you can really own that. But it is a transformative time, and so there is something I think that you have held on to and lived through your difference as almost a badge of honor and a protection in a way, and it is going to be the thing that ultimately you communicate and that really takes you out into the world. But you need to let the guard down a bit, heal any inner wounds that might have been there from the inner child or whatever, but find the people that you can also look up to, praise and connect with, because there is something about connection for you, but it has to be the right connections, not just the expedient ones, and not necessarily just the ones who praise you. It's almost, I really feel it's more, you've got to find the people that you would want to praise, because then you find the people who are really part of your tribe. That's when you'll find it. If you're looking for praise from other people, then you're always giving the power of your self-esteem to other people. This is about reclaiming it and then finding your tribe. So I hope that resonates for you, Pile 4. I hope it's helpful and that you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And let me know in the comments what you think, particularly if you do want to enter for the personal reading. But even if not, just leave a more general comment if you wish. Beyond that, if you are listening to this at the beginning of 2022, I wish you the very happiest of New Year's, and I hope to see you in future readings.